fishing poles and golfing holes. This is how to cast a bait caster. So basically the bait casting reel is the form of reel where like on a spinning reel you can see the spool, whereas on a bait casting reel you actually have to control the spool with your thumb or your opposite thumb, whichever way you cast it. But basically, to just break down the reel real quick, this is obviously the handle to reel. This is the spool release, this silver button right there. When you press that, you gotta keep your thumb on the spool, or else, as you can see, I don't know if you can see that, but the line will release just like that. So then here we have our screw that basically screws the plate for the braking system in. And right now I'm gonna set my braking system a little lower because I just have, for this video, I just have a frog tied on right there just because it won't get caught up in the grass or anything in my house or in my yard. So right now I just have 12-pound mono on this reel. This is just standard. I don't want a braid on or anything right now because I'm just using it for bait fishing and things of that sort. So and it's paired up on my Black Max Next Generation Garcia 6.6 medium heavy reel, or I'm sorry, rod. And yeah, this is the spool tension right there, and this is just basically your drag right there, star drag thing that's moving right there. And like I said before, this is your braking system. As you can see, it says on there max right there, and that's minimum. You want this basically for heavier lures, and max for lighter lures, to keep your spool from bird's nesting so easily. So yeah, let's get right into it. So to cast the bait caster, you basically want to, first off, is press the spool tension bar, or I'm sorry, not spool tension, the spool release button down, and simultaneously put your thumb on the reel, on the spool of the line. And then as you get ready to cast, I'm just going to do a sweeping cast, just a standard. And as you rear back to release the line, you want to let your thumb off of the spool so you can release line. So just like that. I'll do it again. So, rear back, sweeping cast, let go of the line, put your thumb on the spool. That's the next part. So, when you cast, when your lure, when you can make an estimate, where you want your lure to go. But when you get your lure to the spot where you want it to go, or about when it hits the water, or grass in this case, set your thumb on the spool again, as to prevent a bird's nest. So, just like this. Set your thumb on the spool, stop it, and that's another thing your spool tension is for, and I'll show how to set that for any specific lure. It's where the spool will stop once your lure hits the water. But so your thumb is just kind of an extra backstop for that spool. And then after you do that, something happened to my frog here. It's a little retarded. What's happening here? Oh, I see. My hooks were poking through the actual frog. That's not good. Okay. So anyways, what you want to do is, once you've casted, put your thumb on the line, is just start to reel. So flip that until you hear it click, go, and then depending on the lure you have, like a frog, I'm going to be twitching it like this as I'm reeling it in, or just slight pulls, reel, slight pulls. Anyway, so you'll reel in and you'll notice that the spool will do everything itself. You don't have to do anything except reel. And So like I was talking about earlier, your spool tension, you want to look at the spool. And so like I was talking about earlier, with the spool tension, you can see the frog on the end of my line there. So you want to release the spool, and once that lure hits the ground, in this case the water, if you're on the lake, or the water for that matter, you want the spool to stop moving. So if it drops, and once it hits, the spool continues to roll and let out line, you want to tighten, which you're just turning the spool this way, clockwise. However, if your lure stops moving right in the middle, like if it does that, that means your spool tension is too tight. So you want to turn it counterclockwise, like so, and make the spool tension loose so it can drop. So yeah, you want your spool to stop running once your lure hits the ground. And then your drag, I always set my drag pretty loose, and because you can always, tighten the drag, of course, later on, lock it down, if you have a big fish on. That, and a lot of the time, after you hook a fish, especially a bass, you can let it run, and that'll tire it out. So you would want your drag a little loose to let it run, because you're not just going to let up the spool, because that might let the bass go and throw the hook. So yeah, just keep your drag loose unless you need it tight. Okay, so I'll go over how to cast a few more times. So when you're casting, just a few more tips. Make sure always to put your thumb on that line, because when you get a bird's nest that just keeps rolling and rolling, it's going to go all the way down to the spool, and you're going to have to reline your reel. So always keep your thumb on that line. That's the number one rule with a bait caster. So as I said before, sweep out to the side and reel up your lure with a bait caster about 10 inches to a foot, 10 to 12 inches away from the rod tip. So about like that. About like that, as you can see. It's a little bit away, but not too close. And that'll allow for your line to get farther, and for your lure to have more leverage to swing farther out. So just one more time, a couple more times, just swing back, and you don't want to do anything overhead right now, because that's a lot harder to fix with the line and everything. And then there's skip casts, where you kind of twirl the rod tip and let it go close to the ground so it skips on the water. I use that mainly for a Senko or a jig. Not a frog a lot of the time. I mean, sometimes for, pad crashing, that can be good. But, other than that, casting a bait caster is easy once you learn it. So, just one more time, guys. Here it is. The whole thing in conclusion. Release spool. Keep your thumb on the line. Rear back. Let the line go. Once it stops, put your thumb on the line. Continue to reel. Reel until your lure is about, like I said, 10 to 12 inches away from the rod tip, and repeat. Okay guys, that's going to be the video. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, Fish Poles and Golfing Holes, and thanks for watching.